Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to a new episode for Grade 10, Unit 3. In this episode, we will learn grammar and language functions. So let's start. In this episode, we will discuss Unit 3's grammar and language functions. As we said, the title of this unit is Inspiring Architecture. For the grammar, we will start with the comparatives and the superlatives. What do you know about the comparatives and the superlatives? Let's take a look at this slide. The comparative is basically if I want to compare the quality or the description between two nouns. Now, if I want to describe two nouns in comparison to each other, I will use the comparative. And if I want to show that this noun has the upper rate between all the other nouns, I will use the superlative. Now, what do I mean by the superlative and the comparative? How do I use them in language? Let's take a look. Comparatives are basically adjectives. For example, tall. Okay? If I want to compare this person's height and the other person's height, describing them as tall, okay, I will say this person is taller than the other person. So I will add ER at the end of the word. As you can see, taller. If I want to describe a girl as beautiful than the other girl, I will say more beautiful than. So the word tall and the word beautiful are both adjectives, and I want to use them to compare between two nouns. So in the first one, tall, I used ER at the end to make it a comparative word. So I said taller. For beautiful, I said more. Let's take more. What about the superlatives? If I want to use tall, okay, to describe something, I will say tallest. I will add EST at the end to the adjective. And if I want to describe something and use the word beautiful, the adjective, as a superlative, I will say most beautiful. Is it clear? Great. Now, I gave you the general idea. Let's analyze this grammar more. Take a look at those adjectives. One syllable adjective is tall. You say it once, tall, okay? You cannot divide this word, so it's a one syllable word. The second adjective is famous. It has two syllables. You can divide this word to two syllables, saying famous. And there are some adjectives that has more than two syllables, like important, important. Now, how do I make those adjectives comparative adjectives and superlative adjectives? Let's take a look. If we have the adjective in one syllable, we will say taller, okay? We will add ER at the end. If we have two syllable adjective, we will say more famous. And if we have more than two syllables, we will say more important. So if we have two or more, we will use more before the adjective. And if we have one syllable, we will simply add an ER at the end. Now, the one syllable ending with an E, okay? For example, strange, okay? So the word strange ends with an E and it's one syllable. So I will say stranger. I will not add double E because I already have one. So I will simply add an R at the end of the word. So remember, if you have a one syllable word that ends with an E, you just add R to it because we already have an E. If I want to turn this adjective into a superlative adjective, I will add ST instead of EST. Why? Because it's one syllable, ends with an E, so I will simply add ST to it. Now, if I have a one syllable word with a consonant, vowel, and then consonant. For example, a letter H followed by a vowel O and then a letter T, okay? All I have to do is to double the last letter. For example, if the word was hot, the adjective was hot, I will say hotter, okay? So I will add a T, E, and R because I have a vowel between two letters. If this happens, we will double the last letter. So we will add the last letter plus the ER at the end. The same case happens if I want to make this adjective a superlative. I will add EST plus doubling the last letter. So hot will be hottest. Now, the same thing for the word big. Big has a vowel in the middle and two letters before and after it. So it will be bigger. I will add a G-E-R to make it comparative adjective. The same case with the superlative. Big, biggest. You can see that. Okay? If, for example, I have a two-syllable word ends with an Y, okay? And if I want to turn this adjective into a comparative one, I have to add an ER. But I cannot add ER with the Y. So what am I going to do with the Y? Simply replace it with an I. So happy, for example, will be happier, I-E-R. I replace the Y with an I. The same thing happens with the superlative adjective. Happy will become happiest. I replace the Y with an I. As simple as that. Crazy will be crazier. I replace the Y with an I and ER at the end. Very simple and very clear. The same thing with the superlative, craziest. Now, in English, we always have exceptions when it comes to nouns, okay? For example, if the adjective I have was good, it will be better if I want to use it as a comparative adjective. And it will be best if I want to use it as a superlative adjective. Also, the word bad. If I want to use the word bad as a comparative adjective, I will say worse. And if I want to use it as a superlative adjective, I will say worst. Those are the exceptions. Now, I want you to open your student's book, page 26, exercise 2. Let's do it together. Fill up the table with the correct form of comparative and superlative adjectives. For example, you see the first line, okay? Short, tall, becomes shorter, taller. And then the superlative will be the shortest and the tallest. Thin will be thinner. And the superlative, thinnest. What is the opposite of thin? You have to put the adjective and then make it a comparative adjective and then make it a superlative adjective, as well as heavy, luxurious, and fine. Find the opposite first and then turn it into a comparative adjective and then to a superlative adjective. I'll give you a couple of seconds. You have to do it by yourselves first. Do as shown in the first cells. Let's take a look at the first one. The opposite of thin is fat. If I want to turn fat into a comparative adjective, it will be fatter. I want you to notice here that we have a vowel between two letters. That's why we doubled the T at the end and we added ER for the comparative adjective. So it became fatter. What about the superlative? Fattest. You see here, we also doubled the last letter. What is the opposite of heavy? What is the opposite of luxurious? And what is the opposite of fine? You have to do it and complete it by yourselves. The superlative and the comparative adjectives are now very clear. Let's take a look at the compound adjectives. What is a compound adjective? Or what do I mean by compound adjectives? Basically, a compound adjective is a multi-word adjective, which means it's an adjective that I will use to describe something, but it's not just one word, it's more than one word. Let's take a look at this sentence. Noura worked as a part-time waitress at a local cafe. Now the word part-time here describes something, which is the job of Noura. The job of Noura is a part-time job. So the description for the job is part-time. That's why part-time is a compound adjective. It has two words and it describes one thing. Okay? Let's take a look at this sentence. I took a 5-day holiday. Okay? So the word 5-day is a compound adjective. Okay? It's a compound adjective because it's a multi-word adjective. It describes one thing, which is the holiday. Okay? But in describing the holiday, I did not use the regular adjective I always use. I used a compound adjective, which is a two-word, a multi-word adjective. Here, 5-day. And you can notice that the compound adjective has a hyphen between them, which is a small dash between the two words. Okay? Let's form compound adjectives using the words we have between brackets. The first sentence is, I've just bought a dash car. We have new and brand. Can you create a compound adjective using those two words? I want to create an adjective using the word new and brand and put it in the sentence. The second sentence is, I prefer eating dash snacks, free and fat. Can you create a compound adjective using those two words, fat and free? The third sentence is, Lionel Messi is a dash player, famous and world. Now you have the words, all you have to do is to combine those words together to create a compound adjective. Take your time and let's take a look. Now the first sentence is, I've just bought a brand new car. So brand new is a compound adjective because it describes the car as new, but I said brand new. So it's an adjective with two words instead of one. The second sentence is, I prefer eating fat-free snacks. So the word fat-free is a compound adjective. As I said, it has two words, fat and free, combined together to create a compound adjective describing the snacks. The last example is, Lionel Messi is a world famous player. When I combined the two words, famous and world, I made it a compound adjective as world famous player. It's very simple and very clear. Now we reach the language functions. What do you know about language functions? Now a language function question basically asks you to say, what are you going to say in that situation exactly? I want you to write, what are you going to say in the situation provided to you exactly? So all you have to do is to imagine yourself in this situation given to you and then answer with full grammatical sentence. Your answers shouldn't be yes or okay or I agree. It should have a full meaning. It should be a full grammatical sentence. So all you have to do is to imagine yourself in that situation and then write full sentences saying or writing what you're going to say in that situation. Let's take a look at the first example. One of your friends drinks coffee excessively. One of your friends drinks coffee a lot in a bad way. This is not good. So what are you going to say? Imagine yourself looking at your friend drinking coffee a lot. So what are you going to say? For example, you must reduce your coffee consumption. It's harmful. What did you do here? This is giving advice. So you gave your friend an advice. How do I know that this is an advice? You used the modal verb must. So you said, you must reduce your coffee consumption. It's very harmful. Okay? The second example is your father is confused between traveling to Europe or Asia. Now think about it. If your father is confused, what are you going to say? And write what you're going to say. For example, I will say, in my opinion, Asia is more interesting than Europe. What did you do here? You shared your opinion. You said, in my opinion, Asia is more interesting than Europe. So here you imagined yourself in this situation and you gave your opinion. You shared your opinion. In today's episode, we learned grammar and language functions. In grammar, we learned the comparative and the superlative adjective for 1 syllable, 2 syllables, and more. And we also learned the compound adjectives. We gave advice and we shared our opinion in language functions. It's for today's episode. Thank you for watching and see you soon.